Vote tomorrow on the president and the Speaker of the House's plan to replace Obamacare. Paul Ryan remains confident that he'll have the 218 votes he needs, and in part, as he contended yesterday, because in the legislation is a lot of victories for conservatives.
We've been working with all of our members on many of their concerns, and I would simply say that a lot of the members' concerns have been incorporated in this process. And so if you take a look at what we've been able to add to this bill, the things that are huge conservative wins, giving states the ability to take a total block grant for Medicaid, giving states the incentive to have work requirements, preventing non-expansion states from expanding and gaming the system. This is the most pro-life legislation we've had since partial birth abortion. It's a massive tax cut, and we made the tax cuts effective in 2017. All of those things were requests by these members. And so in this day and age, and in this business, in politics, if you get 85% of what you want, that's pretty darn good.
And the Wall Street Journal editorial board agrees with Speaker Ryan on that. And, we talk about and read from pundits and economists and policymakers all the time. But there's a woman that I correspond with routinely, listens to the show. And I'm not going to say her name because I don't know if she wants me to say her name. But she's really bright. She's, my intellectual equal.
Oh.
That's how smart she is.
Wow, this is a huge compliment
Yeah.
for her.
And that's exactly right.
You two smarty pants, I hope you have a great friendship.
But listen, and she's conservative, and she's a conservative reformer. And listen to what she wrote in this email to me about this topic, because I think it's interesting just to hear from somebody who's in touch and in tune and thinking about these things. And here's her perspective. We can't let our individualism and war history, meaning the last primary battle, stand in the way of our first real chance to do something real legislatively. All the votes Republicans took to repeal Obamacare in the past don't matter. We have to forget about those. They were done when times were different and there was no chance they'd go forward. Now, for the first time in more than a decade, or almost a decade, we have the votes to do something with a simple majority, and there's no excuse not to do so. I understand that the bill doesn't go far enough. I don't completely trust the establishment that came up with it, but it's only a first step. I believe Kudlow and Brady when they say this must go forward in steps, and I'm aggravated that my heroes in the Freedom Caucus don't see that. Why don't they trust the man we elected to the highest office? Why don't they trust Price to obliterate the regulations that are strangling the healthcare free market? All good questions, and I'm ceding my time to my friend who I correspond with to demand responses to those questions from our friend, Steve Moore, chief economist for the Heritage Foundation and a Wall Street Journal columnist. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Hi, good morning, guys.
Good morning. So what about those questions posed by my friend I correspond with about challenging the Freedom Caucus's position and essentially suggesting that this has to get done even though it's imperfect?
I couldn't agree more. I think this woman is spot on. Not my mother, by the way.
It is not Mrs. Moore. Not Mrs. Moore.
But no, I think it's spot on. In fact, Larry Kudlow and I and Art Laffer just wrote a piece, for the members of Congress. We co-signed a letter saying pretty much exactly that. That there are a lot of imperfections in this bill. If we were, writing it, would we have written it exactly like this? No. But I think her main points are spot on. That this does cut the taxes. Look, let's look at the big picture here. This is the first time in my lifetime, or your lifetime, or anyone perhaps listen to the show's lifetime, that we've actually rolled back a major entitlement program. And this is a big deal. This is a monumental victory for the free market, conservative, free enterprise movement. And for people, I would think it would be an astounding mistake if my friends like Ted Cruz and Rand Paul and Mike Lee, who I love, I think they're the three best senators we have. If they were to vote this down because it doesn't have exactly what they wanted it, I think they would be missing an historic opportunity. And there is a lot of truth to what this woman said. It's exactly what Larry and I have been saying. You can fix this thing as it goes along, but don't miss this magic moment. This is epic. Well, if we can get rid of this bill, there are imperfections. I had breakfast with Rand Paul a couple of days ago, and he went through them. And there are a lot of things that are infuriating in this bill, but the big picture is it's a big victory for our side.
Well, can you give us some bullet points of what those senators want, particularly Rand Paul?
Well, Rand Paul makes the point, and I don't know if I agree with him on this, that this tax credit, this refundable tax credit, is really a new entitlement program. And, a refundable tax credit is essentially the federal government giving cash to a person who doesn't have a tax liability. And those are obviously low-income people who don't have any they don't pay any taxes, so you can't give them a tax cut to help pay for their for their health insurance. So what the government essentially would be doing would be giving them a cash subsidy. Now, my argument to Rand is, look, this isn't really an entitlement. It's more like a voucher system. It's like we're giving them the cash so they can go out and buy the insurance they want, rather than putting all these people in Medicaid, which is the worst health insurance system in the world. And my belief, and I think Rand agrees with this, that if people can shop around, they will be smart consumers. They will get better health care. Competition is a good thing. It drives down costs. So that's one of his concerns. There are other concerns. It doesn't entirely get rid of something called the essential benefit package, which says that anyone who buys insurance has to purchase a laundry list of items that are covered, everything from contraceptives to dental care and so on. Why not let people just go out and buy whatever insurance package they want? So, yeah, there are flaws in the bill, and I respect it. As I said, I respect Rand, but I said, Rand, look, are you kidding me? You're the libertarian in the Senate. We're going to roll back. This cuts government spending by $1 trillion over the next 10 years. We need your vote on this. And I think, by the way, I think in the end he probably will vote for it.
President Trump, in meetings with members of Congress yesterday, including his friend Mark Meadows, head of the House Freedom Caucus, said if people don't vote for this, they may lose their seats in 2018. Now, some people interpreted that as a threat. I interpreted that more as just his prognostication about what the political landscape will be if a Republican Congress and a Republican president don't replace Obamacare between now and then.
Yeah, I totally agree with your analysis there. I think, look, this is going to get done because it has to get done. Now, I know we call the Republican Party the stupid party, but this would be a monumental act of idiocy if the Republicans failed to get rid of Obamacare. It was the central promise that Republicans have been making for 7 years to the voter. Give us power, and we will get rid of this horrible program. And by the way, the argument that the Democrats, of course, are making is, oh my gosh, if we get rid of Obamacare, all these people are going to lose their health insurance. And, that report that came out last week, 20 million people are going to lose their health insurance. Folks, wake up. If we stay on the current course we're on, with insurance prices going up 25% per year, in a few years, nobody's going to have health insurance. It's going to be too expensive for anyone. The Obamacare has created a death spiral in the insurance market, where the only people who are getting insurance are almost literally, people are in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. It's like if your house were burning down and you call up the insurance company and said, "Can I have fire insurance?" I mean, so the system is imploding rapidly before our very eyes. I talked to some insurance executives who say, if we don't do something about Obamacare, we could see in many, many states a doubling of premiums next year. Well, nobody's going to buy it, and then we're not going to have anybody having health insurance.
So with this new plan, I mean, the premiums will be lowered?
Oh, well, that's a good question. I mean, I think there's the tough part of this is, how do you get from A to B? How do we get from this horrible system that is Obamacare, and by the way, the system that was before it, which wasn't very good as well, to a true free market system where people have competition, where they have choices, where people can buy the kind of insurance that they want, where you can shop around. And it's so interesting to me. I've made this point on your show before, but it's worth repeating. That the only two industries in America where we have raging inflation are healthcare and education, and those are the two industries managed and regulated and operated by government. If you get government out of the way of the insurance market, health insurance, I actually think you'll get higher quality care. Costs will come down. It will become more affordable to everybody. And if some people need a subsidy, just give them a cash subsidy and let them go out and buy health insurance. So the answer is, I think in the short term, I'm not so sure about that, Amy, but I think, over the next 3, 5, 10 years, yes, insurance prices will come down very dramatically under this new system.
Now, in addition, an additional contextual argument that's being made to recalcitrant members of the House, Republican members of the House on this bill, is that the failure to replace Obamacare would endanger the structural tax reform that's in the offing, the reduction in corporate and personal income taxes. Do you agree that the two are connected?
just peripherally, and I don't think there's a lot to that. We're going to get this tax cut done. I mean, I'm going to jump off the John Hancock building if we don't get this tax cut done.
Okay, Spider Steve.
Because it's got to get done, and those are the two things. I mean, look, Republicans have two mandates from the voters. They've got to do. They've got to get this Obamacare repealed, and they've got to get this tax cut done. And I think the mistake they've made looking back, look, I said this from the beginning, do the tax cut first, because the tax cut was actually easier. And the problem is that Obamacare is taking so long to get eliminated and to put forward this new system that the tax cut has been put on the back burner, and I think investors are getting nervous about whether this is going to happen this year at all. But I think there's a high probability it will. And look, there are a bunch of stupid tax credits in this bill and this and that, which I could live without. But the fact is that we're going to get the business tax cut done. There was a report that just came and didn't get much publicity 2 weeks ago from the Congressional Budget Office, which is the government's own scores, that confirmed the United States has the highest corporate tax rate in the world, and it also confirmed that because of these high tax rates, more and more businesses are leaving the United States. Now, don't you think, Dan and Amy, the alarm bells should be going off in Washington? There's something wrong when American companies are leaving for Canada or Ireland or China or Mexico. That if we want to bring them back, we got to fix the tax system.
Well, not to mention, I'm like a D.C. politician. I've already spent the money I expect to realize from the tax cuts, so it better happen.
Well, the good news is we're going to also try. I have to say I was pretty proud of Trump and his budget. I mean, he was you could tell that it was a good budget by the squealing that was going on in Washington. Oh my God! When you want to drain that swamp, the people in the swamp are not too happy.
All right, he is Steve Moore, Wall Street Journal columnist, chief economist for the Heritage Foundation. Steve, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys, have a great week.
You too.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.